Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call to order the public comment section of the Nashville MTA board meeting, and how we will proceed, because we are a little early. We'll start with the public comments, and then we'll go into the other part of the meeting at 2:30. However, if anyone comes in that wants to make a public comment after we conclude this part, they'll be more than welcome to make a public comment, and I'll find the time to take a break to sort of bring that back in. But we'll start now. And the first person I have up is Angelique Johnson. And as Ms. Johnson comes up, I'll remind the public comments are 3 minutes, and I will give you some kind of signal when you have 1 minute left.
Okay, can you do something like that because I can't see?
Okay. Well, that's a good one. We talked about that last month, didn't we? About not putting my finger up. So I'll do a snap for you. Is that good? All right, I'm gonna get my timer set. I like that. Thank you. I love new ideas. Such innovation that goes on in this room.
My name is Angelique, and I'm with Mississippi Cities Riders United. I have a couple of complaints. Well, first, it will be with the 22 border bus. The bus have expanded, which is a good thing, but it's very confusing. It's two buses, where like a Kings Lane bus and one goes to like border, and they post around like behind each other, but they kind of like passes each other up as they go. So people who wait to go to Kings Lane, the bus passes them up and thinking that the one that border was supposed to grab them, and we sit back waiting. Well, like say for instance, the border bus will pull up and I'm like, no, I'm waiting on the Kings Lane bus. And because the King Lane bus seen the border bus stop, he feel like they don't have to stop, so they passes you up, so you have to wait, and it's awful. So I'm trying to figure that out. And also, I tried to go to a meeting over on, I want to say Evanston Pike, and Sheila had gave me like split directions how to get there, what bus to catch, all that. So I was on number 52, and I got to the point where I transferred to the number 72, and they had me out there for 2 hours. The bus driver kept saying that it was behind them, and they never pulled up. And when I finally realized that the number 72 was there, a guy had told me like, that's the number 72. And I would have never knew if he was never there, because it was in the middle of the street and they wanted me to walk across traffic into the street and get on the bus, which is very dangerous when you can't see. They didn't pull up into the bus stop, and I thought that was kind of crazy. Another thing is with the bus schedules. I feel like someone needs to sit down and go over the bus schedules and get them accurate, because they're not accurate. It's like they're telling you one thing, the app is telling you another thing, and it's very confusing, and you're waiting for another time that they don't even come out. So, fix the times of the buses.
Oh, it wasn't up. You had another minute. Oh. That's the 1 minute signal, so I don't want you to think it's over.
Another thing I want to talk about is the escalators. They was down, and I don't know if they fixed them, but it was kind of hard for people who have like bad knees or legs trying to go up the escalator, because they had it like going down and not coming up. I don't know. Another thing is, something was going on with the bus fares last week, where I rode like 2 or 3 buses for free because they couldn't figure out the fare box. It was like, it wasn't working, or something was wrong with it. So I think we need some new buses. And I think that's it.
Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I wanted to also tell y'all guys, if you want, I ride the bus all the time. So if you want to join with me and ride the bus, because you'll never know the issues unless you get out there and like actually ride. So I'm willing to take y'all up and take a day and ride the bus.
We can ride with you?
Yeah. Any day, anytime.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank y'all.
Tamika Douglas. Good afternoon, Ms. Douglas.
Good afternoon, MTA Board. I'm Tamika Douglas, and I am a member of Music City Riders United, MCRU, and also Path People's Alliance for Transit Housing and Employment. I live in Madison, and so I ride the 56 BRT, I ride the 35X, or the number 7. And I've been a bus rider off and on for maybe 3 or 4 years. And so I've been on buses that have broken down, and I've witnessed the frustrations of the bus operators and other riders. I've seen the women's bathroom down here transform from basically outhouse levels to halfway basic hygienic levels now. However, MTA still needs some major improvements to the bus system. You know, there are some things that we need. For example, we need some more service routes. We need extended service times. One of the things that, as we did outreach a couple weeks ago, me and Angelique, we noticed that a lot of the riders, they complain about the MTA service not being available after 9 o'clock. And so a lot of people work second shift or third shift, and I think as the city grows, that's something that we need to consider also, is extending that service time. And I do understand from being a part of the transit plan and hearing it, being at the council meetings, is that you guys do have a plan to make some improvements to the MTA system. But I guess my question is this, how long will we have to wait for those improvements, and are they tied to the successful passing of the transit plan? Because I don't feel like we need to wait until this plan is approved before we have those improvements. I'm not going to even get into the absurdity of the Nashville Transit Plan right now and how expensive it is and how it's, you know, it's cost burden to the people that are already burden in Nashville. I'm not going to even get into that because that's not here or there, but I just hope that the improvements that are needed, the extended service times and routes, are happening before this whole passing of the plan. And I know y'all are going to talk about that today, I do believe, so, but that's fine. So those are my main issues, is that, you know, are we going to start making some changes right now before the passing of this plan? Because I feel optimistically that this plan is not going to pass, and it shouldn't pass. But some issues that I had about some of the routes, the number 14 Whites Creek route, it needs to be made into a BRT because there's lots of riders, and there's 2 times in the evenings, and if those people miss those times, guess what, they're stuck down here. And another question I have is, how often do y'all conduct ridership surveys just to make sure that you do have a bigger bus or buses that transport more people? For example, the number 27 bus, I think it's a regular size bus, but have y'all conducted a ridership survey just to make sure that possibly you could downgrade, have a smaller bus if there's not a lot of riders, and maybe buses that are overloaded, like the number 14, if they could change into BRT buses? So that's one of the issues. And then two,
your time is up, but why don't you just finish that sentence?
Oh, it was about access ride fares. Have we talked about possibly decreasing those? Because it's not fair that disabled people and cost burden people have to pay $3.40 for that ride. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. John Bull. Mr. Bull, where you been? We haven't seen you in a couple meetings. Welcome back.
I was too much information.
Well, it's good to see you.
I'm a frequent rider, and usually for the first time in 3 years, I'm in every committee and every board meeting, but we had too much information. Three items. I hope that the mobility on demand funding is y'all get what y'all need to execute that, because I think that's an exciting concept to be sure. I'm very taken by staffing that y'all are tracking maintenance and technical and mechanics to make sure the staffing levels are up to speed. I note that the 93% operational cameras, that is a bit of concern to me. To me, the safe place is a bus where you've got 3 to 9 cameras, depending on the bus, that are doing incredible video feeds and some incredible audio uptakes before they even kick in the software. That makes the buses to be a very safe place, and I'm glad y'all are paying attention to that. The renovations for the facility here, I note that there's talk of a single-stall family changing room, which I'm sure would have a baby changing station. You have single parents. I really think that some attention should be given, that should be implemented, that you have a baby changing station in the regular restrooms also. It's just the way our culture is. It's good to be back. We'll see y'all.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Ms. Hanson. How are you today? Does the finger snap work for you for 1 minute as well?
I don't think I'm going to take that long.
Okay.
I've got a new one for you, but I only really have one thing this time. The crosswalks here in MCC are great for us to cross, you know, the buses stop for us and everything, but I'm noticing more lately that buses pull in and they're stopped across the crosswalks. And then we get this recording, please do not walk in front of the bus. Well, where are we going to go if the bus is parked across the crosswalk? I just wonder if there's a solution for that. So that's the only thing I could think of for this time.
Well, thank you very much.
Like I said, it's a new one for you.
Thank you. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Mr. Green. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So let me say to the board, thank you for everything that you all have been doing. We had what we believe was a successful Black History Month celebration, honoring the first female driver and African American driver here at the system, and so we were honored that one, she's still living in order to be able to receive those awards, and MTA was actually outstanding in their support and in the award that they actually gave, so we appreciate that. As far as ATU, we have one request. We are asking that this board and MTA to consider on May the 1st to allow free bus rides in order for people to be able to go to vote. And not only on May the 1st, but also during the general election later in the year. We hope that this is something that we can do as a tradition. I'm sure, as you all know, that the state of Tennessee is woeful in our get out the vote and our voting totals. And so we would love to see MTA and this board actually step up and support that effort. And so we ask that you take that into consideration. Lastly, our hearts are saddened as we have lost another member. But we understand that there's always a plan for those of us who believe in the Creator. And we are just privileged to know him, privileged that he was an employee at MTA, and privileged that he was our friend. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming today, Mr. Green. And again, as we've said in the past, our condolences go out, and your staff is our staff. And I think we might have some more public comments. Mr. O'Connor, I waited for you to sit down, or Mr. Tom. Either one of you can go first, whichever is which one. I know you all just walked in, so I don't want to rush either one of you, but
Conspiracy.
well, you know, I understand that there's conspiracies abound these days. I don't know, but this one wasn't, for real. You're good. I don't have any energy.
I can't hear you secret.
That too. Take your time. You're good.
Last week, we're late. This time I'll play things early.
That's okay. We're all in this together. We're good.
Okay. Well, once again, it's good to see you all.
Good to see you as well.
Okay, I just got a few things I need to point out. A couple of them, as usual, as I try to point out, that customer service hours needs to be extended. Again, like I said, from the time that the first bus leaves MCC to the time that the last bus completes its run. Because people are still out there, as long as the buses are running, people are still out there. People need information, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, bus hours need to be extended as well, especially on weekends, Fridays, Saturdays. Still, I'm coming across drivers who do this stop go, making people sick. Some of the drivers, while they're driving, are jerking the bus, stepping on the gas pedal, letting off, stepping on the gas pedal, letting off, still makes people sick. And also, the 52A, and I'm sure this is probably pointed out once before by someone else, 52A, the end of the line should be behind Walgreens on Hickory Plaza Drive in Ocala, because you know, people will get off the bus where the end of the line is currently, and you know, people want to get up to the next stop, which is we're in front of the Kroger's at Hickory Plaza, and you know, on a pile of window like this, and you got to walk from where the end of the line is to where the next stop is, and it would help a lot if we could get the end of the line to go around to the backside of Walgreens, so that way we don't have to walk from where it is now to the next stop. I thought there might be somebody. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Thomas.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On the 26th and 27th of January, the 202 bus from the jailhouse arrived at Harding, Tampa 20 minutes after the hour, and I think that puts it 8 minutes late. On the 3rd of this month, the 1057 bus from the jailhouse arrived at Harding, Tampa 11:22, which is late. And the 20th of this month, the 708 from the jailhouse arrived at Harding B at Harding, Tampa at 7:24, which is very, very late. And on the 20th, the 52 bus that leaves the down here at the MCC Bay 19, the driver did not arrive until 3 minutes after the time the bus was supposed to leave. And the downstairs TV is down again. It's been down for the past couple of months.
Just ask about that downstairs TV. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it. Those are all of the public comments that I have. Does anyone else have one that did not fill out a form and wants to come before us today? If that is the case, then that closed the public comment section of our board meeting. So I'll do an official call to order of our official business, and now that it is past 2:30, and I will start with the approval of the January 25th meeting minutes, if I can have a motion for approval.
I'll move to approve.
Walter, we'll need you to second that.
It's second.
It's second. Thank you. Any further discussion? None? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. We have a minutes. Thank you, Kathy, for preparing those for us. Mr. Searcy, anything on operation and finance?
We have nothing to recommend in this reporting period, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Farner, do you want to share the new initiatives and community engagement committee report and action items?
Well, we didn't take any action because it was just me, but I think the 2 items are in here, aren't they?
Yes, we need
The mobility on demand and the Music City Central renovation.
We also have a fair collection.
But prior to that, we had a discussion item last month that we talked about, which was the Next Generation Fair, and you have it in front of you here.
Yes, and I have that. Thank you. Yeah.
So for the first one is the Next Generation Fare Collection System, and we had extensive conversation and a presentation from Gen Fair last month, and as a result, we had a committee recommendation, and the committee recommendation to the board recommend to the board the award of the design, provision, and implementation of a Next Generation Fare Collection System to Gen Fair, division of SPX Corporation, in the amount of $6,410,064.30. And then also to INIT Innovations in Transportation Incorporated, $8,124,254.01 for a total of $14,534,318.31. We might want to talk about, we had extensive conversations about why we needed both and what the two would do. And one was more with the software, which was the in it. And then the Gen Fair was the actual equipment that we use and the fare boxes that we use, and the two will talk to each other, but they sort of need both hand in hand, was the presentation. In addition, given the technical nature of the work and required the integration with other systems, a 20% contingency of $2,963,863.66 is recommended for a total value of, with the contingency in, is $17,441,181.97. Those are an awful lot of numbers, but these numbers are going to take us into the next generation with our fares and sort of how we process them and be able to sort of keep up with the technology behind it. So it's pretty exciting. So through a combination of federal and local sources, with $12,388,685 in funding is available and allocated in the fiscal year 2018 approved capital budget. $708,225.02 of which was utilized during the project evaluation period, planning and procurement. And then an additional $5,760,720.99 is planned via federal and local funding sources to cover the full cost of the system, but remains to be allocated through fiscal year 2019 budget planning and approval process. So it's also important that we note that the above contract ceilings appear significantly higher than planned expenditures due to the inclusion of several ongoing operational elements in the contract ceiling. For example, the long-term service agreements, fare payment, media, training, etc. And any other capital and operational costs will be required to implement and support the project outside of the contracts with Gen Fair and in it. Below, and I'll ask that we attach this chart to our minutes for this next meeting. There's a chart that sort of indicates exactly where each of those dollar amounts are going to go to each of the contracts. And it is a recommendation of the committee, and the recommendation came from last month, and we had some time to sort of think about it, talk a little bit more about it. So based upon the recommendation, I don't need a second.
Madam Chair, the only point I would argue is that, or add, is that the board last month asked that we defer because Member Farner and Member Miller weren't here. I did have the opportunity to sit down with both in the interim period and walk through the material. So, and I know, and Glenn can obviously speak for himself, but Janet indicated no reservations.
Okay. And Mr. Farner, you had no reservations?
I have no reservations.
And based upon that, and based upon the fact that all of our board members were fully informed and fully vetted as it relates to this really important piece of work that we're going to undertake, I just ask, is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. The motion carries, and we have innovation. Thank you very much. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Farner, for the Music City Central renovation.
Okay. The Development Office made a presentation about the discussion we've had over the last few months regarding renovations to this Music City Central location. It'll include the demolition and reconstruction of public restroom facilities, and it goes into detail. It will incorporate a single-stall family restroom, which was suggested by the board during the last October. They'll incorporate vandal-resistant fixtures such as toilets, sinks, toilets, trash cans, paper towel dispensers, etc. It'll renovate the current customer care area and adjacent office space. It'll have a new customer care window, 4 transaction windows, lost and found storage, safe storage, and lockers for employees. The renovation will allow up to 10 workstations beyond the ticketing area. It'll have extensive waterproofing program, which we talked about the degradation the water has caused since the initial construction of the facility. The project received a bid response from an RFP from Batten and Shaw, and the amount of $4,823,000, and that had a 30% contingency, which brings the total of $6,269,900. Obviously, the committee of one recommended
it, so we don't need a second for that.
Right.
It's amazing what happens when you talk to yourself. Which is great. Now, this is really a great opportunity, I think, for us, and something that so many of us have wanted to see happen, and so many of our friends that come and share things with us want to see happen. So I think it's going to be a great thing. So, any further discussion?
None here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Renovation's on the way.
Next was the, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Next was the mobility on demand, the 18003 item. Basically it's expanding the access ride, same day premium service, and Director Bland talked about the difficulty with the Taxi USA program and the dispatch system. And we had a contract with Demand Trans. Current one was $575,000, but it did not include the actual provision of transportation services. So in order to implement these services, now that we have the information to do so, committee recommends the board approval of the increase of $500,000 to the contract value for a total contract value of $1,075,000. The source of these funds are existing access ride operating funds in the National MTA operating budget. And 2, we had intercommittee deliberations, and we recommend it.
Based upon the recommendation, any further discussion?
No.
There being no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. On demand. There we go. Are you ready, Dan? Ready. You're ready. Oh, clean bathrooms on demand and collecting money. Does it get better than that? So, Chair's report, I don't have much. I'll take a personal point of privilege and sort of share with people that we on Vanderbilt's campus will be having a transit forum tomorrow at noon at the Student Life Center, and have some of our Vanderbilt faculty members talk a little bit about some of the engineering that's going on, and some of the things that are in our transit plan and some that are not. So it's just a really good opportunity to learn from scholars, academicians about transit and things in transit. And we'll have another one March 13th. And sort of don't know all the details about that one, but that one's going to talk more about cityscape and things like that. And I want to thank, for our first one we had at Vanderbilt, I want to thank our CEO, Steve Bland, and also my colleague, Walter Searcy, for coming to our campus and having a really great discussion of describing to our faculty, staff, and students and other community members about what this plan really is, what does it mean, what is this referendum that's coming up on May 1st, and how it all interplays. And thank Aaron from the mayor's office as well for coming. And I think these discussions are really important, and I think they inform our communities in a great way, so people feel informed about transit and can become more a part of what we talk about and what we do, and sort of see how transit is a part of everyday life for so many of our citizens. So thank you both for doing that. It's on behalf of Vanderbilt and on behalf of the community. Lots of fun stuff going on in here, right? I'm just really excited about the things that we sort of agreed to today with the Next Generation Fair Collection, the Music City renovation, and the Mobility on Demand. These are things that you all have been working on for a substantial period of time. And to sort of see it come to a place where we can begin implementation, I'm excited for you all. I'm excited for the community as well that these things are going to go forward. Other than that, I think all things transit, if you're in Nashville, which is great. So community, again, I always appreciate that you come in and share your comments. Those comments help us. Those comments help to make us better every day, to make your ridership experience better and more fulfilled. So thank you for coming and sharing those things, because other riders benefit as well. So thank you. And that concludes my report, unless I'm missing something, but I don't think that I am. Hope not.
Sounds like Charles Barkley.
What is that?
He says, I may be wrong, but I doubt it.
I may be wrong, but I know. Charles Barkley is never wrong, is he? Oh, we can take that conversation a lot of different places, but let's just go over to Steve.
I'm not sure I have anything to top that. Just thank you, Madam Chair, members, a couple of quick things to update you on. I think everybody knows, unless you have been living under a rock, on February 6th, Metro Council did approve the ordinance to put the Let's Move Nashville initiative on the ballot. So I want to reciprocate Gail's thanks and thank Gail and Walter and Hannah Paramore of our board. All were present in council chambers that night, and frankly, I talked to a couple of members, and your attendance was noticed, so I do appreciate the fact that you were there on behalf of the community. A number of staff continue to participate on our broader outreach efforts on the Let's Move Nashville plan. I am anxiously looking forward to co-starring with Mr. Searcy in the Bordeaux neighborhood on Saturday. But we've had a number of folks, as has Public Works, Mayor's Office, out and about to a number of different events and meetings. So great opportunity to get out and talk to folks about what's going on. As I think all the members know, we continue to work with Bowen Advertising on a potential rebranding campaign. And I want to thank all of the members for interacting with Bowen, giving them very valuable input. I'm anxious to see what they come up with, as I'm sure you are. So stay tuned for some pretty interesting conversations in the coming months. Definitely not in my wheelhouse, so I am actively looking for advice from anybody involved in this. I wanted to echo Patrick's comments about another unfortunate employee lost this month, one of our maintenance employees, who is just one of those people that just shows up, does his job, always a good attitude. I think the only knock that some of our staff had on him was that he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. He's a Dallas Cowboys fan.
That's a knock, yes.
But just all around, came in as a part-time access ride operator, has worked as a general helper, has worked as a neighbor repairman. So absolutely one of those folks who makes the system go every day, and our hearts go out to his family and his memory, and the folks who work with him, who I know that was a hit too. I won't belabor the point. It caught you up on our budgeting efforts, but we are back and forth with Metro Finance in terms of putting together this year's request, and again, similar to last year, working in parallel of efforts we would undertake in a baseline budget, and then the extra efforts that would happen if the Let's Move Nashville initiative is able to pass. We had our regular quarterly meeting with Federal Transit Administration this month. That went well, no surprises. They're pleased with progress. We did have the opportunity for the first time to take them on site on the Murfreesboro Road project, which is under construction, and what did you say, Trey, about 20% or so underway. So a lot of traffic control boxes going in. Should be getting ready to start doing some of the pedestrian enhancements, some of the fiber runs. A much more complicated project. The budget on it's about $16 million. Actually much more complicated than that. So I'll just forewarn you that the same will be true of fare collection system, as you all pass that contract amendment, or contract award, which I thank you for looked at Dan and I said, I'm sorry. But it will be a great upgrade for our customers in particular. Again, not to belabor with mobility on demand, but as Taxi USA has transitioned over to a new dispatch system, they've had a number of challenges. So first I want to say we are working on them with them. We expect to see improvement. It also does call out the need for resilience and having multiple operators, but I especially want to thank Marilyn Yoakley and her staff for kind of really on a person-by-person basis trying to work through those issues. So we hope for relatively quick resolution, but the contractor is aware of our concerns and is working on them. I want to thank Gail and Walter, and also Walter's wife Joyce for joining with a number of us yesterday at the Urban League's 50th anniversary celebration. Dr. Joseph from Metro Nashville Public Schools gave what I thought was a tremendous presentation. So it was great to hear his vision for the school district. And frankly, a lot of things tied together. I'm not just saying that because he came out and endorsed Let's Move Nashville a year or two ago. I always like to kind of keep you up to speed on RTA items. It was nice to have a relatively, what I'll call streamlined MTA meeting today because the RTA meeting was kind of a marathon yesterday. They went through a number of governance restructuring changes as a result of recommendations from the Office of State Comptroller on their sunset performance audit, as well as feedback from the legislative oversight committees. So that was successful. Good news, the RTA continues to grow. We got word that the City of Columbia is voting to join the RTA.
That's awesome.
So, and they've also said they will work with us, as will the City of Spring Hill, to bring Murray County into the fold. And if Murray County joins, then we will have all 10 counties as official members that are in our legislative service areas. We did, and thanks to Julie and Rita and their efforts to reach final agreement with Penrose Development on our development agreement for Donaldson Station. So now there'll be a lot of background work on developing deal structure. Penrose is working with MDHA and the City of Nashville. You may be aware that the City and MDHA are advancing a TOD development zone around Donaldson Station, which will be key to moving this project forward. Also on the RTA side, we continue. I want to thank India and her staff and efforts, and also the staff of the railroad for working with us on applying for a limited service exception with the Federal Railroad Administration to save us at least temporarily about $25 or $30 million on positive train control. And we'll say we had a number of productive conversations with folks like Deputy Administrator, General Counsel of the FRA, and some of the Congressional Oversight Committee staff, and we're optimistic that that will be addressed.
For the Music City Star.
For the Music City Star, right. Correct. And if anybody really wants to know the ins and outs of positive train control, I can get you about that deep, and then other people are going to have to get you the rest of the way. But certainly it's a huge topic in the railroad industry. And then finally, let you know that we worked with this past month with Cumberland Region Tomorrow and the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee to do outreach efforts in Robertson County and Cheatham County. So the roadshow continues on.
Great.
It's awesome.
We see that Kim McMillan is feeling flush in Clarksville, Montgomery County.
She seems to have a ribbon cutting or a big announcement about every other month, so that's great. Actually, one of the noteworthy things in the Cheatham County conversation was we had great representation from City of Pleasant View, which is basically about halfway between Nashville and Clarksville. One of their points is we really need the RTA. And we serve Pleasant View now with our 94X commuter route from Clarksville. But what they're seeing is tremendous growth on basically a dual income households. One spouse works in Clarksville, one spouse works in Nashville. So they're looking at a tremendous bi-directional commute market. So
They straddle 2 counties, right?
yeah, they're kind of in Cheatham, Robertson, place there. So it's great to have the mayor and some folks from the business community in Pleasant View in that session.
Great.
So, but unless there are any questions, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Does anybody have any questions for Steve? Good report. A lot of stuff. Any other business? Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Sure. Want to stay a little longer? That being said, I move for adjournment. Adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Sir, how are you? I'm great. Shared some time with Ethan earlier today. Looks like we're making some decent progress with our brothers and sisters at ATM.
Yeah, I will definitely try to jump out of mine.
As in regard national transit.
Keep at it.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I'm not out any long. Well, I'm out. You know, through automobiles.
Are you good?